Hi everyone, Pastor Carlos here. I hope that, let me get comfortable in my chair here. I hope that you're all doing well. Greetings to you and blessings. This is part 3 of the leadership that we are doing, and I hope that you have been able to do the self-assessment. If not, please see the previous message. Let's get right to it. You have been chosen by God to become a leader. And when God chooses you, nothing can stop that calling upon you, whether it's a pastor, whether it's a teacher, whether it's an evangelist, whether it's an apostolic, whether it's a prophet. And those things are that we have to, he equips us, but we also have to grow into those areas of our lives in the spiritual sense. So, I'm going to go through some of the stuff in here, and I am asking that you pay close attention. I hope that I don't take much of your time. But number one, a leadership position is usually given to people because they have leadership potential. Most of the time when people enter a leadership position, they do so because it was granted or appointed by some other person in authority. In this case, it may be your pastor, your apostle, etc. The problem that probably seems obvious, but think about the implication. It usually means that the person in authority believes the new leader has some degree of potential for leading. The good news is, so if you are new to leadership and you have been invited to lead something, then celebrate the fact that someone in authority believes in you. In most cases, and above all, that God believes in you and that he is entrusting you with this position. I remember the first time I was given a leadership position. I was working for McDonald's Corporation, and I was a crew member. Then I became a crew chief, and then a swing manager, and then an assistant manager, and then first assistant, then restaurant manager, and so on and so forth. And it was an exhilarating moment for me because I was recognized for the potential in me. I remember the people that took me under their wing and trained me. After that, it was announced to the rest of the restaurants that I will be moving up the ladder. And most people had a positive attitude. Usually you'll find people who are reluctant when you get promoted into a position, because at some point you were friends, you were at the same level that they were. So you're going to face opposition, whether by people or the enemy, etc. But positive attitude and hard work will get you to your goal. But let's take some things aside and explain that the title of a captain would merely give me a platform to display my leadership abilities. It did not guarantee that players would follow me. In this case, management. He said earning that would be my responsibility. So in other words, in order for you to get people to follow you, it is your responsibility to embrace that. The best leaders promote people into leadership based on leadership potential, not on politics, seniority, credentials, or convenience. John Wooden, the legendary UCLA basketball coach who was a fantastic leader, once told me that he didn't designate a captain for his team until after a few games into the season. He waited because he wanted to see which player would step up and serve the honor. He has often been quoted as saying to his team, "Don't tell me what you're going to do. Show me what you're going to do." If you have a new leadership position, then let me say, welcome to the first step in your leadership journey. You have a seat at the table and have been invited to be a part of a leadership game. You will have the opportunity to express your opinion and make decisions. Your initial goal should be to show your leader and your team that you deserve the position that you have received. Number two, a leadership position means authority is recognized. It's not to be abused. When an individual receives a position and title, some level of authority or power usually comes with them. Often in the beginning, the power is very limited, but that's okay because most leaders need to prove themselves with little before being given much. In other words, they're not going to give you a whole building if you have not been able to manage your little office. Going back to the first official leadership position, a captain on a basketball team, for example, I received a certain new privilege. Before tip-off, I got to meet a center court with the referees and the other certain new privileges. Before tip-off, the referees and the other team captains to discuss the game to be played. I could call timeout during the game and was asked for input from the coach when we were in the hurdle. I also spoke to the team in the locker room before and after each game. My title gave me a recognition and authority. However, I also recognized the limitations of that recognition and authority. No man is a leader until his appointed is ratified in the minds and the hearts of his men. As a new leader, you must use the authority you are given wisely to advance the team and help people you lead. Do that, and your people will begin to give you even more greater authority. When it happens, you gain leadership and not just a position. Number three, a leadership position is an invitation to grow as a leader. There should always be a relationship between receiving a leadership position and fulfilling the requirements demanded by it. One of the main requirements in personal growth, I learned this early in my life from my father, who loved to quote, "To whoever much is given, much shall be required." He believed that each of us had received a lot in life, and we had a responsibility to learn and grow so that we could make the most of it. The journey through the 5 levels of leadership will not only be successful if you dedicate yourself to continual development. If you believe that the position makes the leader, you will have a hard time becoming a good leader. You will be tempted to stop and gaze, meaning you'll stay where you are and enjoy the position benefits instead of striving to grow and become the best leader you can. Frequently, I'll ask a group, what's the one thing you would change to improve effectiveness in your organization? Usually people name things that can be found on the list of P's: products, promotions, policies, processes, procedures, pricing, and people. Seldom does anyone say most important and impacting of all answer, me. I would change me to improve our organization. Yet that seldom heard response is the key to success. If you want to lead, you need to grow. The only way to improve in an organization is to grow and improve the leaders. If you want to make an impact, start with yourself. The leaders who do the greatest harm to an organization are the ones who think they have arrived. Once they receive their title or position they desire, they stop growing, stop innovating, they stop improving. They rest on their entitlement and clog up everything. Make the most of this opportunity in leadership by making growth your goal. A strive to keep growing. Good leaders are always good learners. To be an effective leader, you must believe that the leadership position you receive is merely an invitation to grow. If you do and become a lifetime learner, you will continually increase your influence over time, and you will make the most of your leadership potential, no matter how great or small it might be. 4. A leadership position allows potential leaders to shape and define their leadership. The greatest upside potential for people invited to a leadership position is that it affords them the opportunity to decide what kind of leader they want to be. The position they receive may be defined, but they are not. When you first become a leader, your leadership page is blank, and you get to fill in any way you want. What kind of leader do you want to be? Don't just become reactive and develop a style by default. Really think about it. Do you want to be a tyrant or a team builder? Do you want to come down on people or lift them up? Do you want to give orders or ask questions? You can develop whatever style you want as long as it is consistent with who you are. Leadership is much less about what you do and much more about who you are. Francis Hazelbean, founding president and chairman of the board of governors of Leaders to Leaders Institute, observed, leadership is much less about what you do and much more about who you are. If you view leadership as a bag of manipulative tricks or charismatic behaviors to advance your own personal interests, then people have every right to be cynical. If your leadership flows first and foremost from inner character and integrity of ambition, then you can just ask people to lend themselves to your organization and its mission. If you're new to leadership or new to particular leadership position, it's the perfect time to think about the leadership style you desire to develop. If you are an experienced leader, you can, of course, evaluate the way you lead and make the changes. However, you will be working against your people's past experiences and have to overcome their expectations. As you move forward, what should you consider? 3 things. And that is, who am I? Good leadership begins with a leader knowing who they are. In this book, your ship captain, Mike Abrasoff, states, in a nutshell, hard experiences has taught me the real leadership is about understanding yourself first, then using that to create a superb organization. Leaders must be free their subordinates to fulfill their talents to the utmost. However, most obstacles that limit people's potential are set in motion by leaders and are rooted in his or her own fear, ego needs, and unproductive habits. When leaders explore deep within their thoughts and feelings in order to understand themselves, a transformation can take shape. Successful leaders work hard to know themselves. They know their own strengths and weaknesses. They understand their temperament. They know what personal experience serves them well. They know their work habits, their daily and monthly and seasonal rhythms. They know which kind of people they work well with and which kind they have to try harder to appreciate. They have a sense of where they are going and how they want to get there. As a result, they know what they are capable of doing, and their leadership is steady. Knowing yourself on a pretty deep level isn't quick or easy. It's a long, involved process. Some of it isn't particularly fun, but it is necessary if you want to become a better leader. Self-acknowledge is a foundation to effective leadership. And leading, I wanted to add, one of the best ways that you can win people over is by always saying please and thank you, by appreciating and recognizing when someone has done a good job. Always praise in public and reprimand in private. No one should be ashamed to be put to shame in front of their colleagues or other leaders. When I managed teams, I used to take them into my office. There was a joke when I was a restaurant manager. They said, if Carlos asks you to go get French fries out of the freezer and he follows you, you're in trouble, because there no one could hear what I was saying to that person. But I often recognize people in public because they deserve that, and that people, when they see that someone is being recorded, it inspires them to also want to be in a leadership position and look at their own potential. Next week, I will be giving you the assessment in the form of paper to do on your own teams. That is it for now, but remember, in order to be a good leader, you must know yourself. You must continue to grow, invest in yourself. One of the best ways to invest into yourself is by reading books, and of course, the Bible, and knowing your people and knowing the rhythms of your organization, and you will be successful. God bless you. See you next week.